jobs in our country today, you think that wouldn't produce much cognitive dissonance, right? You'd be wrong. Overall, a majority, 62%, said yes. 23% said no. 15% said they weren't sure. 67% of whites said yes. 49% of blacks said the same. 84% of Republicans said yes. Only 50% of Democrats said yes. 34-point spread between Republicans and Democrats. But a majority say policing is an important job today. I wonder if those who would answer yes to that question and live in big cities in America think they're the majority. They certainly don't act like they are or vote like they are, do they? Is that a problem? 84% of Republicans and only 50% of Democrats say policing is an important job. Well, I'll tell you what, one of the Democrat socialists who has come to believe it's an important job is none other than Portland soy boy Ted Wheeler, the mayor there. Now, after turning over his city to Antifa,
for the last 2 years, 3 years, he's
after
changed his mind, huh?
After erasing the lines, he wants to redraw them. It's going to be tough.
Good luck with that.
During a virtual briefing, he had these words: "Our job is to unmask them, arrest them, and prosecute them. I want to personally thank neighbors, family, friends, others who've come forward with vital evidence. If you see somebody engaged in a criminal activity and you can safely film it or take a photograph, please do so. To be clear, we're asking people to be engaged in a way that is non-confrontational, that is nonviolent." Well, that differs from the outgoing First Lady of New York, Warren Wilhelm's wife, New York City, that is, who a couple weeks ago, remember?
Yeah, she said engage.
If you see a violent conflict, or if you see people fighting, you should intercede where you can.
Become vigilantes. But in Portland, if they see you videotaping them, they're going to attack you. Are you kidding me?
It's remarkable when the spouse of a big city mayor, the biggest city mayor, is advocating for the Bernie Getz response to violence in the streets. It's also remarkable that only half of Democrats think that policing is an important job after a year where we saw a 30% increase in murders year over year, 2020 to 2019. Bit of a problem.
Police were bashed last night during the Oscars.
Well, that's pro forma. A bit of a problem nationally where you can't separate the attitudes of vapid Hollywood celebrities from people who live in the real world. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by our old friend, James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent and criminal profiler. He is the guy, along with his team, who broke the Unabomber case. He's the author of a series of books, A Journey to the Center of the Mind, and also those books were turned into the Manhunt series on the Unabomber case, which was excellent. He's got a new audiobook, The Fitz Files, Manhunt, that you want to check out, too. You can get that from his website, jamesrfitzgerald.com, jamesrfitzgerald.com. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, always great to be on with you guys. And real quick, I think we could even make that Rasmussen pool you mentioned early on even better. If every time someone calls 911, they say the first questions are, what's your party? How did you vote in the last election? I have a rape to report. Someone's breaking, that's fine, but how did you vote in 2016, 2020? I think you'd be surprised to see those numbers would change somewhat in terms of who's calling the police and who actually needs them at any given time and would support them, at least at that moment in time.
Well, right, and we know from other surveying, I mean, this is these polls are snapshots in time, and so passions are particularly high right now because of the Chauvin trial and some other police-involved shootings that, of course, we all know about and have discussed. But other surveying shows 70% of black residents of big cities, 70% of black Americans, mostly residing in big cities, say they want the same or more police in their neighborhoods. So, but there is this ideological poison that is being distributed, and it's delegitimizing police. It's putting police back on their heels, which emboldens criminals And I think it's largely the responsibility of these big city mayors like Ted Wheeler, as well as DC press corps that just amplifies whatever the most ideological element in the Democrat Socialist Party is purporting at the time.
Right, and just for the record, whoever's recording this, I was being sort of
Yes.
tongue in cheek
Yes.
about the
Yes.
asking the people as they call. But you know, in the last few months, I mean, I was a police officer before I was in the FBI in suburban Philly, a mid-sized department, and my second book is all about those years. And I'm still in touch with officers from there, from big city Philly, New York. I mean, other parts of the country. And the biggest thing they're telling me, defund the police. No one has to because no one wants to join us. Guys are retiring the moment they become eligible. Usually guys, I say guys generically, men, women on the forces, hang around a few more years, get the kids through college. They can't wait to get out. Others are quitting, when they're not even eligible for retirement. They're going to some other departments that are more user-friendly, police-friendly in that regard. So, I mean, I don't think the funding even has to technically be cut. The budgets are going to go down because they can't get people to hire. Some are lowering their standards to get in, and before you could never be arrested to be on the police department. Then you could have some arrest, and in the last few years, I think you could have a felony arrest as long as you're only convicted for a misdemeanor afterwards. I'm talking about some big cities here, and now they have to reduce those or throw away those parameters. So who are we even going to get that are going to apply for these jobs? And when it was actually an honorable profession, someone wanted to give something back to their country like I did, help out society, help out our culture, all that stuff. And now you're not going to get any recruits at all, and the ones you do get are going to be, quite frankly, sometimes suspect and not the best candidates. And I'm saying all that. Let's hope the pendulum at some point swings back. I think there's a good possibility it will. But the next election cycle or two will tell us a lot about that and where this whole country is going.
But how can police officers get back the respect that they once had and that I think they deserve? And what's it going to take?
Well, Amy, they're doing their jobs right 99.999% of the time. I think I've said these numbers to you before, but any given day, there are 1 million interactions with police and civilians every single day. There are probably about 200,000 arrests every single day. How many do you hear about on the mainstream media, or the corporate media, some people call it now? It may even be state media, I'm not sure anymore. But you only hear about the ones where it's a black person being arrested and it's a white officer somehow using force to bring that person down. And I have some problems with the Chauvin situation, his arrest technique there. Whether it was conviction of all the charges against them, well, okay, that's what the jury saw. That's what they did. I think, as the judge himself said, there are probably grounds for appeal. But to get the respect back, they got to keep doing the job they're doing fairly, objectively, and the public will know and see what's happening there. I think most of them do already with the statistics you read off earlier. Of course, it's changed by political persuasion. Of course, depending on your political persuasion or what media outlets you subscribe to, read, watch, whatever, which then influences you. But the media has to be held accountable here to some degree for what's going on in this country and the tribalism they're fomenting, and certainly the anti-police aspect. And people have theories that they want a federal police system, which we've never had. In many countries around the world, I would meet them in different parts of the world, that their military and their police are one and the same. Our founding fathers never wanted that. They wanted a separation, of the federal government and the local government. Whether that's what the goal is, and they put their own people in, and then we have the whole brown shirt sort of philosophy that they had in Nazi Germany. I don't know, but I think if police go out there and they are objective and they smile every once in a while, and of course, make legal, legitimate arrests, they're going to be fine. But if the mayors and the governors keep coming down on them and dropping the qualified immunity, and I'm sure your listeners and about that, but these officers, they get sued for some BS, issue, and they have to go hire their own lawyer and their house and their family. Everything they saved is at risk here. So if you're going to do that, okay, let's have all the politicians that pass those laws, the judges and the prosecutors involved in every single case, let's have them lose qualified immunity. Maybe that would make more sense then.
how do you react to the announcement after the Chauvin verdict that Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, is going to do an investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department? You can almost guarantee a consent decree will be forthcoming, as was the case during the Obama years. That's sort of not necessarily federal micromanaging, but you come in, you investigate, you've already decided you're going to find what you're looking for, and then you put it in the form of the consent decree so you can be seen as having done something to improve, reform, enhance the local police department. How does that impact local policing in America?
First of all, no surprise at all that this administration wants to do that. There are probably some PDs that maybe over the years have some, regulatory and administrative shortcomings, and perhaps they do need a larger entity or body to supervise them. In my days in Ben Salem PD, the suburban PD where I worked, we were actually advocating. It wasn't civil rights involved; it was just workplace harassment that was involved and other issues related to that. And we said, let's bring in some state agency to supervise what's happening here. So some departments may need it sometimes, but when sort of a blanket effect, when it's the overall overreaching, federal government coming into local and state government, that's problematic for the people that work in those institutions, but as well as the people who live in those jurisdictions. So I don't know, maybe the chief, whoever's been appointed lately by the mayor of Minneapolis, he or she may welcome this sort of oversight. But in the long run, when the feds come in, you better be careful what you wish for, because it may cause even more problems for you administratively and cause your personnel power to drop even more so. And there, once again, who suffers? The taxpayers, the citizens who live in those jurisdictions, which maybe someday they'll realize voting in certain people with certain points of view and certain political persuasions in the long run hurt you. They look good on paper and they say the right things, but in the long run, strictly speaking of police work and law enforcement, it's detrimental to the environment as a whole in terms of safety.
Now, with your other former agency, the FBI, some of the numbers that we read from the Rasmussen poll may be a little bit reversed because of the work of Jim Comey and to some extent Christopher Wray. Certainly, I've lost faith in the FBI over the last several years as a law enforcement agency because of the politicization at the top of it, and I'm talking about rank and file agents, as we've discussed before. And so I wonder how you view the FBI now, with even a little bit more distance than from when we last spoke with you about Christopher Wray and what the agency is doing now. I mean, we still don't have a completion of the Durham report. We still don't really have a reckoning on so many things that occurred, not me saying it, but the DOJ Inspector General saying it. And I mean, I agree philosophically with some of the criticisms that come from the left. If you don't have accountability for institutions, including the police, then you got a real problem. We talk about that with prosecutors' offices. It's just that they're selective, and I'm not. I want accountability at the FBI and local police and every other institution, every other public institution in America. And the FBI has failed the accountability test to this point, at least in terms of performance over the last several years for me.
Yeah, and I'm quick to point out, shortcomings in any institution to which I was a member, or obviously even not, and that includes law enforcement agencies when it's needed. And the FBI does have some problems with credibility. It seems they're really, really focused on the January 6th uprising and bringing everyone to justice worldwide, if not nationwide. But boy, how about these mass killers and spree killers of the last few years, in which the FBI actually interviewed some of these guys, and they still managed within a few months or a year to go out and get weaponry and then shoot up a FedEx or a school or other places like that. And not to mention the Boston bombing. And it gets tough for me. I'm put myself in the shoes of the agents. I interviewed one of these guys. How do I handle it? I've always been a skeptic, and I've always liked to err on the side of caution without trampling on anyone's rights or violating their rights. But I mean, geez, put a stop on their weapon purchasing. Most of these weapons are all bought legally by these guys, but it could have been stopped with a red card under their name or in their computer block in that regard. So I believe there is a politicalization of the FBI at the very top. It may have even seeped down somewhat to at least some members of the rank and file. I don't know exactly in that regard. Plenty of FBI friends are out there of mine still on the job, and they're very supportive. They just want to be, again, a law enforcement agency, technically, and they're an investigative agency as opposed to law enforcement. They just want to get the job done right and arrest the people who should be arrested and don't bother with the others. But the whole thing with the Russian investigation and the Mueller thing for a few years, and we talked about it a few times, it was so clear it was going nowhere. It had nothing that was verified, confirmed. And why some of those agents, quite frankly, or at least the supervisors who were involved, are still doing what they're doing, I'm not sure. And the ones who are canned, either their wives have nice positions now, or in the federal government somewhere, or they're on CNN, or both. And there's just something wrong with that picture, and that goes beyond just the FBI, of course. So I think many factors, many factions have taken over the top level of our governments in this country, and we have to be prepared who we vote for. That may only strengthen those issues, or perhaps weaken them someday, depending which direction this country goes.
CNN or Peter Strzok getting a gig at Georgetown University. Boy, that really rubs people, regular people like me, the wrong way. You know what I mean?
And his wife has some high-ranking position, and I forget HUD
Of course she does.
or Fannie Mae or something like that, and she's like second in charge there.
I'm glad they could put the marriage back together. That's great.
Yeah, who knows where his girlfriend is, but that's a whole other story.
James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent, criminal profiler from the Unabomber case, among others. He's the author of the series of books, A Journey to the Center of the Mind. Check out Manhunt on Netflix if you haven't seen it yet. It's really good. And he's got a new audiobook, The Fitz Files Manhunt, which you can order from his website, jamesrfitzgerald.com. That's jamesrfitzgerald.com. Jim, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560. The Answer.
If your money is not earning at least 2.5% guaranteed as well as tax deferred, you need to call Professional Life and Casualty. Professional Life and Casualty is offering a 2.5% guaranteed APR on new funds deposited into your annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA accounts. Rate subject to change. Please call to confirm. With Professional Life and Casualty, you pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Professional Life and Casualty has been providing peace of mind insurance and annuity products for over 60 years. Visit plcinsurance.com. plcinsurance.com. They'll send you a free guide to tax-deferred, no-fee annuities. Learn about a 2.5% guaranteed APR return on annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA with no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. And peace of mind, only from Professional Life and Casualty. Call 1-800-651-1800. That's 1-800-651-1800, or online at plcinsurance.com. That's plcinsurance.com.
You heard about it earlier in the program, all the details. Don't wait until the summer when you can lose those pandemic pounds this spring. With NJ Diet, it only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40-plus pounds. Now with a location in Skokie, NJ Diet's program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your hair, saliva, and blood work. Then NJ Diet uses DNA testing to create your ideal diet plan and workout regimen, and genetically assess over 50 different metabolic factors to help you keep the weight off and stay healthy for the rest of your life. Don't want to do it alone? NJ Diet is with you every step of the way to make sure you're burning fat, not just losing water. You'll also get the doctor's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet is all natural, no shots, no hormones, and no surgery. Located in Skokie or from home with live online video consultations. Visit njdiet.com or call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET, or go to njdiet.com and lose the weight for good.
Hi, I'm Jim Boyd, here to tell you about an incredible cost-saving opportunity you should consider for your building, office, or facility. For 30 years, Boyd Electric has been a local 134 electrical contractor providing quality service and technology. We help businesses large and small reap the benefits of energy-efficient lighting products. Boyd Electric has retrofitted hotels, big box stores, hospitals, and car dealerships, and is a total solutions provider that can serve your needs anywhere in the country. With our no capital outlay shared savings program, you can get 100% financing with customer payments based on an agreed upon share of realized energy savings. Once the balance is paid off, you own the equipment and retain the energy savings. Our partnership with manufacturers and our association with ComEd's energy efficiency programs provides you access to products and programs designed specifically to make upgrading your lighting plan an affordable, cost-saving option. Boyd Electric, the experience to retrofit your business with the finest LED alternatives. Contact me, Jim Boyd, at BoydElectric.com. That's BoydElectric.com.
If you purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until August 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan, signed on March 11th, expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels, and especially those between the ages of 50 and 65. Those who qualify